Deep underground, the environment turns hostile. Down here, there is zero margin for error, and a single misstep can seal your fate. Two separate groups of explorers entered complex cave systems seeking adventure. By the time they reached the surface again, one man had survived a grueling extraction, and another had lost his life. Once you step away from the sunlight, your survival depends entirely on the physical dimensions of the stone around you. These two expeditions took place on opposite sides of the country, one inside the sprawling Buzzard Roost Cave in Kentucky, and the other deep within Thunder Canyon Cave in San Diego. This 3D cross-section shows the difficulty of the terrain. Just a few hundred feet of rock creates a barrier that blocks radio signals, GPS, and cellular data, isolating you from the surface world. Because of this isolation, help is rarely immediate. The exact moment an injury occurs is the moment you are most difficult to reach. William Coughlin spent his life advocating for the outdoors. At 27 years old, he was an environmentalist who worked for the Federal Environmental Protection Agency. During a 1993 trip to Kentucky, William and his friends started on the well-lit paths of a historic tour, but they chose to venture further, signing up for a wild cave tour that bypassed the safety of the railed walkways. William was over 6 feet tall and weighed more than 200 pounds. As the group moved into the depths, his frame struggled to fit through the winding, narrow tunnels. The group navigated 3 consecutive ladders without issue, but 45 minutes in, while pausing on a 4th ladder, William stepped onto an unstable ledge. It broke beneath his weight, sending him falling 50 feet down a vertical shaft. The fall knocked William unconscious, leaving him with a severe head injury and heavy bleeding. The group was now miles from the entrance, with a critically injured man who could no longer climb. Knowing William was losing blood too rapidly to wait for a standard rescue, his guide attempted to drag him through a treacherous, unmapped alternative route to reach the surface faster. The path required navigating a V-shaped rock formation. As the group tried to move him through the passage, William became wedged headfirst, his arms pinned at his sides. This cross-section shows the physics of a rock trap. In a narrowing wedge, every exhale lets gravity pull the body deeper. Now wedged lower, the next inhale is restricted. Lungs cannot expand against rigid stone, reducing breathing to short gasps. William was caught in a trap that restricted his diaphragm. The combination of the initial trauma from his fall and the physical compression of the rock proved fatal before rescuers could free him. 17 years later, software engineer Brent Coven faced a different underground threat. Heavy rains over San Diego's Thunder Canyon had turned the cave's calm waters into a fast-moving torrent. Brent and his group navigated an extreme descent, rappelling 45 feet down underground waterfalls and wading through freezing pools. By mid-afternoon, they reached the Terrible Traverse, a 200-foot vertical crack that requires cavers to move sideways through a 9-inch gap. To fit through the turn, Brent removed his thick wetsuit. He slid forward, but his hips wedged into a section of the passage that narrowed to just 8.5 inches. By attempting to move past his own skeletal dimensions, Brent had turned the narrow passage into a vise. Stuck against the cold stone without his insulating wetsuit, Brent faced a new threat. Exposure to the cave's damp environment meant hypothermia began to set in. 2 hours passed in the dark. Brent's arms went numb, and he drifted in and out of consciousness as a rescue team eventually reached his location. Rescuers could not pull him out without causing internal damage. Instead, they used a sledgehammer to shatter the stone pinning him, working just inches from his face. After 9 hours of manual destruction of the cave wall, the team finally cleared enough stone to pull Brent to the surface. Why did Brent survive a 9-hour entrapment, while William died after 7? This diagram illustrates the mechanical resistance of a cave rescue. You cannot simply pull a trapped person out with a rope. The friction of jagged rock against bone will cause internal injuries before the person breaks free. Survival often depends on physical reserves. William's initial fall left him with massive blood loss and trauma he could not recover from. Brent's challenge, while severe, was a fight against cold and exhaustion rather than physical injury. Exploring these systems requires respecting water levels, following turnaround times and acknowledging the fixed geometry of the human body. From the surface, the desert ridges and valleys appear quiet and peaceful. They give no hint of the narrow, unforgiving spaces hidden below the soil. While we continue to explore these environments, down in the dark, the rock always has the final say.